If a hungry man is hungry and then he sees somebody that has food, it's not enough. But he sees that the person that has the food is willing to
share.
It will direct his step in that direction.
What's up, family? Welcome back to B's Corner Podcast. It is Biama Joseph Ayuba, aka The B. Like I said, I do not stink. And I still have Rampi with me. Rampi Altimak Barman is the full name, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Rampi.
Well, you have been stinging me, but
how have I been stinging you?
Your questions, sir.
It's a good one. They are good so that the conversations can be very rich. Well, welcome back. We started a conversation around, the LGBTQ movement, how it impacts the church culture and all of that. So we're here to further the conversation. And we ended the previous episode on the note where we began to consider how the church can actually help people who are genuinely struggling.
Yes.
And I recall you were saying something like the church needs to open itself up to understanding what is going on with these people who are
the community,
understand the community,
yes.
The church needs to learn about the realities around the community. And you said leaders need to learn, leaders need to educate themselves, and all of that. Now, in furtherance to learning, acquiring knowledge, understanding the reality of the LGBTQ community, what more do you think the church can do? Because we're trying to be very practical with the help that should come from the church to people who are struggling and want out of this lifestyle.
Okay, before I hurry into maybe any next point or two that I have, I still want to come back to the training aspect because everything will boil down to it. I noticed something. What you don't train and learn about becomes a mystery. And because it is a mystery, we don't have answers to be able to give. And then it also determines the way we respond to it. So, but when you begin to dive into knowledge, healthy research, and you understand what the community stands for, I think it will be better for you to be able to learn. So the first thing is people need to be trained. They need to be enlightened, right? And when they are trained and they are enlightened, it becomes easier for them to be able to offer help. You can't give help for something that you yourself are not knowledgeable about. So it's the first thing that we need to pay attention to training leaders. Leaders need to learn, they need to change, they need to grow, they need to mature, they need to have real life encounters and experiences with these people. They need to talk with them. Which brings me to the second point. Now, the second point is we have to create a structure of safety. Now, one of the structure is a physical structure.
Okay.
The second is a psychological structure where you don't label these people and look at them.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Because if that is the case, then we have to be fair on the rest of the community too. Anybody who that fornicate will say this is a fornicator. We should later say Fornicators Association of Nigeria too. Now, since
that's very funny.
But that's the point. This is a human being that needs help. It's that simple. And then sometimes again, I've had a situation where I judge someone. Not even LGBT. The person did something and then I judged the person. When I heard their story, I now realized there was a track that led them to where they are.
That's right.
And I put myself in that position. I realized that if I were there, if I simulate that same process, I may not have escaped the same way
so
that the guy. It's the truth. So it's still a human being that went through this experience. That's why you have stories to tell and all that. So let's remove the label.
Man.
First of all, we recognize that this person, person actually needs help. So don't look at that and say, is LGBT.
Rumpy, man. Really, what you said is very profound. I like when you said you judged someone from a story you heard, right? But when you heard the experience that led them to doing what they did, that resulted in you judging them, you had a change of mind.
And I simulated the experience.
You put
yourself I realized I will not be any different from the guy.
I kept saying, and I said in the previous episode, that there was, when I encountered this group of guys, the LGBTQ guys that I encountered, I worked with at some point in my life, there was nothing in me, right? Now, when I say there was nothing in me, I mean there was nothing natural in me that was willing to resist it. Do you understand? There was nothing. I found myself in an environment and everything looked good, right? Now, put that aside. We mentioned in the previous episode that someone got molested by their uncle. Someone grew up around ladies. And in fact, within the context of Nigeria, there are many young people who are coming out of the boarding house, right? Many young men who went to all boys school, the boarding house, who are coming out. In fact, the bulk of the young people who we have, especially within the context of Nigeria, are people who went to a single sex or gender school.
Same-sex school.
Same-sex school. Many of them encountered those things in the school. And they are out and they almost cannot help themselves. They didn't go to the school looking for an LGBTQ
such experience.
They went in and the circumstances around that setting kind of turned them into a different people.
Yeah.
I watched a clip of a man of God debunking the fact that somebody can go to a same-sex school and come out with that tendency. What I'm simply saying is that creating the environment within the context of the Nigerian church is really not there. So how do you think that the church can provide, can now integrate the knowledge gotten, right? And provide a platform where people who have stories, right? Because one of the things is that you have to understand that it is possible for someone to encounter an experience and their lives become altered.
Of course. Yeah. The trajectory that people's life changes is because there is a life-changing experience that happened that turned that particular path. Sometimes it turns for good. Other times it actually turns for bad. Right? But like I said, again, some of them are doctors. Some of them had dreams or have dreams rather. Let me put it that way. Some of them are doctors, some of them are lawyers. That means they can still do every other thing that every other person can do. Unfortunately, we also have people who are also pastors who might also be indulging in all these things. But I'm saying this to say that still, as an institution, the church needs to learn to take a stand concerning this matter. Let people know that we do not agree. This is not supposed to be a lifestyle, right? And that there is help and that there is redemption and that you can actually come out of it. And like I said also, that it is important for people who have come out of it because people learn more by model and by example. If you tell me that it's possible, I should see somebody who has modeled that example and let the person also have the environment to be able to share the story. Which you see, but that's why also sometimes what some of these people need is deliverance through mentorship too. They need to be mentored in that particular. They need to be mentored in that particular. You don't just leave them. You don't just come and give advice and then talk about it and then it ends there. No. Sometimes people need that time to be able to heal, gradually and come out of it. But as a church, as an institution, there are things that that binds us together. It is our constitution. It is what the word of God is. Unfortunately, we have people that misinterpret the constitution. And they do that for their own good and for their own self-aggrandizement. My problem is that you are taking advantage of a generation of particularly the younger ones who actually need help, who actually their life can be much better.
That's right.
I know that we have not yet started talking about the impact, but do you know that one of the impacts is this? I don't know if I'm jumping the gun if I say that.
That's okay.
There has been a debate of whether it's a mental health issue or whether it's a spiritual.
That's right. We're going to come to that.
Now, well, I think we have come to that already.
We actually
unfortunately
have.
Now, because the issue here for me is that even if you decide to say that the LGBT issue, like somebody who is experiencing it, is not experiencing a mental health issue, the problem is that it accelerates the mental health issue. Yes, because if you have an experience that is a counter perspective of your body's physiology, it affects how you think.
Your mind.
It affects how you think. It affects your mind. And because there's that imbalance in that aspect of your mind, it affects every other aspect of it.
Yes.
So, and recently, again, research had shown that many people who have unstable minds, people who, when they get angry, they can even take a gun and shoot themselves. People are more prone to suicidal thoughts than people in that community.
That's so
the reason is, yes. So even if the argument, I can agree if you say it's not a mental health issue, but I can disagree to tell you that it accelerates every little mental health issue. It accelerates it. Now, if you say it's a spiritual issue, I can agree, but that doesn't mean that after you have brought that person to the knowledge of Christ, there is still a soul that needs to be healed. There's still a soul that needs to be worked on. And that's where the concept of the mental health, thing now comes in. People need to They just, sometimes you just need to hear the right things.
Yes.
You just need to be in the right place. You just need to see the right things consistently. Is what the safe house normally does now, the concept of a safe house. They disconnect them from their phones and from their devices. Sometimes they disconnect them from the environment, cut them off, bring them again. Then this time around, there's the unconscious camerado. What it means is that you are now in the same place with people that have similar experiences and similar issues. Do you know that people who go through a difficult time together and come out of it, they have a tendency to bond better.
That's right.
Than the ones who just met themselves on a platonic level, right? So that particular environment helps you to be able to heal more. Now you have disconnected from the phone, you disconnected from an environment, but not just that. Now you are finding yourself in a place where you are hearing different things. You are seeing different things.
That's right.
You are seeing different people, hearing different perspectives, hearing different stories. It is gradually doing a work of healing. And we have to be deliberate about that. Otherwise, so that what I'm saying is that we don't go and stand and be arguing about whether it's spiritual or not. Rather,
mental.
Be deliberate about what you need to do that will help these people. That's just the most important thing. And I don't know if I've set a little bit of balance about the spiritual and the mental.
What you said is very profound, because again, the conversation that is going on, especially recently around this whole LGBTQ thing, is particularly as it has to do with the church's standpoint, is that it is just spiritual.
That's what we're saying now. They should go and educate themselves. When they do, maybe they will have it. See, sometimes it's cowardice that makes. I hope I spoke that thing correct.
It's cowardice. It's cowardice.
That makes us to label a thing as spiritual, and just we leave it there.
Just leave it there.
Just leave it there.
Kind of like we're afraid to.
Do you have the requisite power to? Do you have the requisite power? Since it's spiritual,
you said it's
do you have to end it? Since it's a spiritual issue, let's just be honest and be realistic about this.
That's so true.
Yes,
that's so true.
These are real issues that people are actually going through, and we have to train ourselves to be able to evolve and rise, like I said, with the occasion to handle this matter.
And you know that, Rampi, in my experience with a few of these people, right, I find that beneath the shell, beneath the front that they put, because if you're, as much as they seem to be quiet, well, not anymore, right, because they're almost everywhere you turn, there's the whole LGBTQ thing, but especially when it began, they weren't all that loud, expressive, but right now they are very expressive, bold. They are very bold, they are very loud. But I've realized that beneath that whole facade, right, is a kind of like a child really looking for help and attention, that wants to break out. You understand? In my interaction with a few people, you will literally, the moment you are able to bring them to the point where they are honest and open with you, you find a person dying inside.
Now you are having a conversation beyond the shell.
Yes.
And that's how you can actually help. You see, I can't help you if I can't reach you.
If you can't penetrate. Yeah, if I
can't reach you.
That's right.
It will be very difficult for me to help you.
That's very true.
Now, but you see, if the administration of church is repulsive, then they have to come with their shell.
That's right. They will.
Because as humans, they still also want to belong to a community.
Yes.
You see that?
They want to belong.
Yeah, they want to belong to that community. But if you see that, man, we have the competence to be able to answer these questions, and we also have the boldness to have these conversations. People will come out of their shell and they will be more comfortable. You see, I'm pretty sure that many people reached out to you.
Definitely.
Now, why are they reaching out to you?
Because they really want to talk.
Not
they just want someone to connect.
Yes, but because they've seen a level of competence in your conversation that you'll be able to provide a solution. So that makes a man that needs help and recognizes it, when he sees who can give him that, he will go for it. It's that simple. We are not that complex.
That's so true.
Yes.
That's so true.
We're not that complex. Just think about it. Even when part of the reason why people go to occasions is just to eat jollof rice. It's not that complicated. It's not that.
Just eat jollof rice.
Just eat that thing and then go. Yeah. What I'm saying is, if a hungry man is hungry and then he sees somebody that has food, it's not enough. But he sees that the person that has the food is willing
to share.
It will direct his step in that direction.
Man, you know what? I know that we're already talking about solutions, what the church can do, but maybe we should touch a little bit on the darkness that actually covers this whole thing that looks attractive at face value. Now, again, I like to share stories, of course, without names. This guy told me that one of the reasons that pushed him towards beginning to reconsider that lifestyle. Now, he was a young man who ventured into that lifestyle as a result of some personal experience he had, right? He grew up and realized that he had feelings towards men. He didn't know how that came about. He just grew up realizing that he had feelings towards young men, and he began to explore the feeling. He tried to stop himself. He just found that it wasn't working, and at some point he just decided, okay, maybe this is how God has made me. And again, that's a conversation, because the LGBTQ community, there are people who hold very strongly amongst them that they were created that way, and that's one of the arguments that they put forth. But that's not the subject for now. Now, he said one of the things that led him to having a rethink is how much darkness is associated with that lifestyle. If you want to find the highest number of drug users,
It's them.
Is them.
Well, yeah, go on.
Some very broken and unhealthy lifestyle. Now, the guy began to speak about how he began to learn to do drugs, how he began to drink very heavily, began to party and club almost every other day. Now, I quickly realized that with that lifestyle comes a search for something that numbs the pain. That lifestyle actually comes with pain, deep level of pain. Because tell me, it's not even natural. How does a man comfortably have sex with another man? That's not even natural, right? So you have to have something that will kill the pain that comes with exposure to that kind of reality. It just made me realize that these people are living in so much. Forget the facade, forget the face, forget the kind of boldness and how loud they can speak and how loud they can articulate what they believe is their reality. There's so much pain. And I think that's something the church actually also needs to realize. Like you have rightly said, when someone is hungry, he needs to find someone who doesn't just have food, but willing to share what they have, right? So perhaps as a closing thought, now with what I've expressed about a deep-seated pain amongst these people, what will be your closing thoughts on this conversation?
Man, it's when you just started talking about the dark side, I just felt my heart had, reaching out to them and just having a lot of compassion for these people, because like I said, a person is a person, right? No matter what the struggle of that person is, but there is hope and there is redemption. One of the things we spoke about, we touched a little bit, you see, because of the perception of society, it triggers anxiety in them already. So there's the inner struggle of anxiety that they have. And because there's that inner struggle, anxiety now gains root in them. And because they have to numb, like you said, some of this feeling, they have to go into all kinds of drug. Because normally, if you are going in a grain that is not natural to the way you are wired, you are desperately looking for equilibrium, but you are looking for equilibrium in a very wrong way. So, and that's why also they have more tendencies to be suicidal. Usually the concept of suicide is when a person has been pushed to a point where he doesn't see hope. So that means that many of these people are seeking for help to come out of the lifestyle. But they now also recognize that the helplessness is there. They don't have the power and they don't have the strength. Now it's even more difficult for the ones who have tried multiple times and they realize they still keep going back. So what happens? They begin to come with the reality of hopelessness, and that's where it pushes them to go and take their life. So if we are going to explore the dark side, I think it will be easier for us to have conversations with people who have been there.
That's right.
Because the only thing I can tell you now will be from shared stories and shared experiences of other people. And I can't even think beyond the anxiety that comes with it, beyond the depression that comes with it, beyond the frustration. And that's why some of them, they can just take out their anger. Somebody like in the United States now, some of them just carried a gun, walked into a place, began to shoot sporadically because of their inability to be stable emotionally. So because you're angry, that's how you know who a strong man is. Your capability to carry out a vice, but to have the strength to hold back yourself from doing it. Many of them don't have what it takes to be able to hold themselves back because something is already wrong from the inside. But let's go back to the most important aspect of it, is that there is help and there is redemption. But also the church needs to, we need to explore this aspect of our gospel too. Right? We need to explore this aspect. If you want to talk about inclusion, it should not be inclusivity of the lifestyle into church. It should be the inclusivity of the knowledge of the lifestyle so that you can bring help to the community.
That's right. So you have heard it. There's help. Perhaps you're out there and this is your struggle. Look, there's no label. There's love. There's help in Jesus Christ. And you also can find that help. Thank you for sticking with us. It has been the Bees Corner podcast with my guy Ram P.
Yes, sir.
We'll come back your way again. Stay blessed.